Hello and welcome to the DYB podcast, where doubling your business is easier than most people realize. Today's guest, who's often referred to as King of Referrals, is an award-winning serial entrepreneur and author of Raving Referrals. He serves as CEO of HOA.com. You heard that. He owns the URL HOA.com, and I'm hoping he'll share with us kind of how he acquired that. That's really cool. The number one networking for home services professionals website. Brandon Barnum, welcome to the show, my friend.
Oh, pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invitation, Steve.
All right, first, because I already kind of threw that out there, HOA.com, how'd you get that URL? That's a big deal.
It's funny. We started this company as the homeowneralliance.com with a mission of connecting homeowners to professionals they can trust. So that's where we started. And I realized about 18 months in that domain, the homeowneralliance.com, was too long to fit like on the side of a bus. So I was sitting there meeting with my partner one day and I said, we've really got to find a better domain. And if we could wave our magic wand and have any domain on the planet, what would it be? Home Owner Alliance, HOA. I went, let me just see what is HOA.com. There's got to be an HOA.com. So there was, and I reached out to the owner, made him an offer he couldn't refuse, and here we are.
Wow. Okay. And well, congratulations. That's an awesome piece of internet real estate to own. Well, Brandon, let's get right to it, shall we? What is the number one piece of advice you have for someone growing their business?
Well, so much of this conversation, excuse me, Steve, from my perspective, is all about creating referral partnerships. So that's the key, is getting people that are already serving your perfect prospects to refer you like crazy, right? So how do we do that? First of all, you need to identify who are the people that you want to be partnered with. Who are the people that are out there serving homeowners each and every day? In this case, in this conversation, that's the world that I live in. I came from the mortgage space. So for the last 27 years, my focus has been serving homeowners. And so the way that we do that and help people, professionals. You want to back up? Do it again?
I'm sorry. I hit pause and then you went again. I apologize. So
yeah. You want to do that? Why don't we do that question again and let's start there.
Okay. Sounds good.
That should be, now that my wife is home from getting her coffee, that should be our only distraction.
You want to go check real quick?
No, I don't need to. I know the sequence.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. So here we go. We're going to start over.
Actually, let me close my door because she's coming in and she's on the phone. Hang on.
So, Brandon, let's get right to the meat of this. What is the number one piece of advice you have for someone growing their business?
Well, from my perspective, it's all about referral partnerships. That's been the key to my success. That's really what we teach. We teach the referral partner blueprint, and it's all about partnering and adding value to the people that are already serving your perfect prospects every day. So if you serve homeowners, number one, you should have a lot of realtors that you're partnered with that are sending you business. Also, other home service professionals, contractors, painters, obviously, plumbers, HVAC, all the folks that are in homes every single day because they're having conversations with homeowners. And when you add value to them and you become the resource that they recommend when their clients and customers need help with your services, then you win and you're helping the other professional at the same time.
We completely agree. We recommend that they do this and they join organizations such as BNI, Chamber, Rotary. Are there any others that you would add to that?
I'm a fan of LaTip only because I've known the owner for for over 10 years. We actually recommend that people create their own. Go join them. And for painters, joining an organization is probably the way to go. We work with a lot of white collar professionals as well, the realtors, mortgage, insurance, and financial planners. We actually teach them to create their own business alliance. And even if they're just meeting once a month with their core trusted team is what we call it, that building those deep relationships with people that are serving homeowners every day is such an important task. So BNI is a great organization. Chambers of Commerce are fantastic as well. Just create that consistency that deepens relationships over time.
Fantastic. Now, I bought your book, Raving Referrals, and I can't wait to read it. I'm having technical difficulty getting it to load on my Kindle app, to be honest with you, so I haven't been able to start it. But something else I'm dying to know is how do you master the art of the ask in order to get what you want in life?
Yeah, the art of the ask has three steps. So, number one, you want to set the stage. Number two, you want to listen for the referral triggers. And then number three, you want to ASK to GET. So, let's unpack those real
Oh,
quick.
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about from the perspective of owning a painting company, right? When you're
Hmm.
first meeting with that client, you sit down with them, they say, "Okay, you know what? We've decided to hire your firm." Before you let them out of that first client conversation, what you want to do is say, "Oh, that's fantastic. I'm so happy we're going to be able to help you have a beautiful home." Right now, before I let you go, I'd like to ask one favor. We get most of our business by referral. It's why we're able to keep our costs down because we're not spending a ton of money on marketing. So, what I'd like to ask is once we've proven our excellence to you, would it be okay to ask for referrals at a later date? Okay. That's called setting the stage. You haven't put them on the spot. You're not asking for referrals right now. You're basically
Hmm.
saying, look, we're going to do an amazing job. You're going to love the paint job that we do for you. And when you do, we'd like to ask for permission for referrals. Would that be okay? Everybody's going to say yes to that because you're making them totally comfortable, right? And you're basically saying, we're going to do a great job. So that's step one, setting the stage. Now you want to listen for the referral triggers. Steve, what do you think those referral triggers might sound like?
Oh, compliments on the experience, the job, the work, and positive feedback in general.
100%. Wow, this looks fantastic. So glad to hear that, right? Oh, you did such a great job. You guys were so fast. You guys were so conscious, right? You wrapped everything. You put, tarps on the floors or whatever it is that you do to create that wow experience for your customers. That's what you want to do. Once you hear essentially an expression of appreciation, thank you.
Mm,
This looks great. I'm so happy. I'm so proud. That's what you want to hear. And when you do, that's when it's time to ASK to GET. And you just say something like, I'm so glad to hear that. Remember when we first started working together, when you first hired me, I told you we were going to wow you with doing an amazing job on your home. Well, now that you feel that way, I'd love to ask you, do you know anybody else that is thinking about or should be thinking about painting their home, for example?
mm.
That's it. One, two, three.
Okay, now for the younger generation, and uh, I'm not as tech savvy as I haven't been keeping up with with the social media
Okay.
trends and whatnot. You know, I'm handy on Facebook and I think I can post a picture on Instagram, but other than that, like that's at this point though, for the younger generation who are savvy, would it make sense to ask them to post and to tag them on their social medias as well?
Yeah, and again, especially if you are in the painting industry, as an
Hmm.
example, because you can create the before and after photos, right? A lot of service people can't really do that. Somebody that's in the mortgage business, they can post a photo of, hey, congratulations, just help this family move into this new home. But if you're a painter, you can literally take a photo beforehand, take a photo afterwards, and then capture that testimonial from that
Right,
client
right.
customer after they say, wow, I'm so happy, this looks amazing, you got it done fat, whatever that expression of appreciation is, capture it and then create that social post with the before and after, or even create a little video about it. Not only post on social media, add it to your website and integrate it into your prospect follow-up, right? So that when you're quoting out new jobs for a new prospect, they can actually see your work and
Hmm.
hear the words of your clients. If you can get your clients on camera, even better. Instead of just a print quote, if it's a video quote, that's even more powerful and compelling.
Indeed, indeed. Right on. Thank you. Speaking of social media, what does the future of influencer marketing look like?
Well, again, this is where partnerships are so powerful, right? Like one of the things I think is so genius is people like you creating their own podcast because you've
Mhm.
become an influencer. You've got influencers coming onto your show, right? And by doing that, I think this is the future is
Mm.
partnership and really not only just talking about yourself, but it's celebrating others. I was just having this conversation with my team yesterday. I said, our social media content should rarely be about us. We're not the hero in the story. Our clients are what we call certified pros in the HOA.com professional network. Those are the heroes. It's not about HOA.com. It's about the great work that all of our pros do. And by celebrating their success, they'll celebrate our success and vice versa. And so it all helps everyone together.
Hmm. Fantastic. Thank you. How can I learn everything I need to effectively communicate with a client in 90 seconds?
Oh, I love that you're asking this question. So, we teach a personality system called bank code. And bank code is really a system that helps you understand someone's personality type. And you can have this on your website. We actually have these cards where we'll hand the cards and we'll say, actually, before we even hand the cards, we'll say, do you want to see a magic trick? Now, in a painting client customer content conversation, this may not work as well. In other industries, it works fantastic, especially like if you are going to a BNI meeting, right? You say, you want to see a magic trick, hand these cards to someone and they say, do me a favor, sort the cards in order of what's most like you to least like you. That will help me serve you better and save us both time. And what happens is they'll look at the four code
Mhm.
cards, and those are blueprint, action, nurturing, and knowledge, and those spell out bank. And what happens is in about 60 seconds, they're going to hand you the cards back in the order of what's right for them. And then I usually spend the next 2 minutes describing back who they just told me they are. But this is the key. And this comes from the book, by the way, Why They Buy. Once you understand the personality of your prospect or your partner, now you really understand how they make buying decisions. If somebody is high knowledge, for example, they need all of the details. They want to understand exactly what's involved. What kind of paint are you using? What kind of primer, right? If you've got somebody that's high blueprint, they need to understand the step by step process, the sequence, the timeline,
Mm.
the structure that you use. So every single person has a different personality type. If it's high action, they just want to know that it's going to look awesome. We're going to get it done quick. It's going to be in and out, and we're going to make this so easy for you. You're going to love it. Just net it out, talk about the benefits. And then if it's nurturing, then you want to spend a little more time and just talk about how beautiful it's going to look. Your family is going to be so proud of how your home looks when this is done. So when you customize your conversations, you close more sales in less time because you're connecting at a deeper level and helping them make buying decisions based on the way their brain is wired.
Mm. That is awesome. That came, Why They Buy. Who's the author of that book?
Author of this book is Sherry Tree.
Cherry Tree. Okay, I haven't seen that
Yep.
yet. That's fantastic.
It's
All
a
right, I love that.
fantastic book.
So you've been able to peg their personality type and then communicate to them in their
Yes.
personality language. So if I hear you correctly, the action oriented, the last thing you want to do with this guy, these are they do not want all the details, right? You're probably going to upset them if you spend too much time going over the details.
You're not going to upset them, you're going to bore them.
Bore them. Yeah.
They're all about excitement and fun and energy,
Hmm.
right? So if you go through all these details, they're checked out, man. They're thinking about their tea time or, whatever they're doing
Yeah.
next, going out shopping or doing whatever they're doing. So you've got to net it out quick for an action personality. And it's all about winning big fast with them.
Mm. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Now, sitting here listening, and I have to apologize. It's hard not to notice the books on your shelf. I love to read. Been reading about a book a week for the last 15 years or so, if not more.
Nice.
And like there's one there that brings back memories. The 1 Minute Millionaire. That was by
Oh,
Mark
yeah.
Hansen, right? Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
Manson? Mark Hansen? Hansen with an
Mark
H, right?
Victor Henson.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
This
brings back
book
some
is
memories.
brilliant. It changed my life. What was your take on this? Do you remember reading this one?
I need to go back about the setting the vision and just really being able to open up to what's possible, right? So at the time, I hadn't really achieved a lot, and so we have limited beliefs. I had limited beliefs, they're much more limited then. So it helped to expand my visual horizon on what's truly possible or what could go after.
Oh,
Uh,
that's a great description. I'm actually friends with Mark, so I'll share that with him. But this book is fantastic because it's two books in one. The left side is the step by step system of success, and the right side pages. So every other page is the left side's all about how to success. The right side is a fictional story of a woman who loses her kids. And I'm not going to do
mhm,
spoiler alert, but she's got to
right.
make $1 million to get them back. So brilliant book. I read this book back in like you, probably 2003.
Mhm.
And then I hired Mark Victor Hansen to come speak at a
Oh,
fundraising event that we were doing for a Christian charity up in Portland, Oregon. And it changed my life. I mean, not only has he been my mentor ever since, but you're absolutely right, Steve. What he did is he challenged the audience to write 101 goals. And this is the key because what he said is most people aren't clear on what it is that they want to accomplish. So for me, I went after meeting Mark, I went to Hawaii the following week and I wrote out 338 goals over those 5 days that I was over there.
wow.
And one of the goals that I wrote was that I wanted Mark Victor Hansen to be my mentor. And when I came back from Hawaii, I picked up the phone. I asked him. He said yes. It was one of the scariest calls I've ever made for some reason. I don't know why. I made up this whole story about what he might think or what he might say, but he
Yeah.
said yes. And we've been friends ever since. And one of
Wow.
the other goals that I wrote was that I wanted Mark Victor Hansen to write about me in a book by May 28th, 2005. So this is 1 year later. Now, for those of you who don't know, Mark Victor Hansen is the number one best-selling nonfiction author of all time because he wrote a few of these books that you might recognize called Chicken Soup for the Soul. All
Oh,
right.
yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
so he's sold over 600 million books. So I wanted this guy to write about me in a book by May 28th, 2005. And after about 90 days of being mentored by him and being in a relationship, he calls me up one day and he says, Robert Allen and I are writing the sequel to the 1 Minute Millionaire, and it's going to be called Cracking the Millionaire Code. Would it be
Hmm.
okay if we wrote a few pages about you? So this book came out on
Yeah.
May 31st, 2005, and there's 3 pages about me and my company in this book.
That's
So
fantastic.
the reason I share that story is a couple things. Number one, it's the power of intention. What I realized is that anything that you want in life is attainable and achievable. You got to get crystal clear on what it is that you want to create, to achieve, to manifest, to attract. And when you do, then anything is possible. And that book was proof positive because it came out 3 days after my intention. And anyway, it changed my life. I took
That's
that book
awesome.
everywhere. I wasn't an author back then, but it allowed me
Mhm.
to have a book. I would put my business card into my profile and I would give it as gifts to boost
Mm.
credibility.
Wow, that's remarkable, Brandon. Very cool. Thank you
Isn't that fun?
for that and that example. Now, in all fairness, it's important for me to mention now that the Millionaire, the first book, might have been where I got the idea because in my book I wrote the tactical process, and then I wrote a story about Sammy and his grandpa building their business, and so I'm like, oh, I thought and this isn't the first time where I've thought, I've had an original idea, but you go back and like, oh, you know what, I was probably influenced by that, but we forget, or I forget a lot of times where
Yeah,
it came from unintentionally. So I want to give credit where credit's due there. That's probably where I got the idea from. So that would
that's
be another
great.
takeaway from that
Brilliant.
book. Yeah.
And your book is probably really fun to read because you've got a story, and human beings love stories. This is one of the things when it comes to referrals is you need to find stories of impact, people that you've changed or impacted their life. And when you've got a great story like that testimonial, that's what you want to use to boost your business and have people talk about you. A few years 4 years ago, I was in New York City and I was meeting with the senior vice president for Audible. Okay. She was the vice president of marketing for Audible. And I was talking to her and she said, what we've found in all of our testing, and they spent hundreds of millions of dollars on testing, right? What we found is all of the marketing that we do about ourselves isn't nearly as effective as having a testimonial about a book. When somebody reads a quote or a testimonial or somebody raving about a book, that's when people are interested, right? So it's the stories that sell, quite frankly, more than anything that you could ever tell.
I love that, and I need to be reminded that on a daily basis because I'm a process guy, right? The card, it's like on I think there's blueprint maybe.
Blueprint,
Like,
yeah.
show me the process, and so I communicate in processes. But you're right. Stories are what convince us, or what help us to connect and relate emotionally, and then we make the decisions logically, right?
It's what we remember and what we can pass on. So if you help people tell the story of you, like tell a story about a client that you made a huge difference to, or whatever the case, maybe you are passionate about serving veterans like we are, right? And maybe you've helped a veteran freshen up their home and you charged them a fraction of what you normally would, or you came together and you got other pros to help donate some of the supplies. And so you painted the home of a veteran. Like, that's a story that's going to hit people in the heart and they're going to hire you because of the impact that you make, which is so different than the story that everybody else is telling, which is about the fresh coat of paint they just got.
Yeah, yeah, right on. And that's part of our program. It's funny you mentioned that. We call it Paint It Forward. And so put out nominations in the community for somebody who needs their home painted that cannot afford to do so. And then they bring it in. And this is what we did with our company before we sold it. And you share it with their team and they pick the best story. But I think the key takeaway here is make sure that when it's all done, that you wrap up the complete story and share that with the network and with your customers and such.
Yeah, and
Right
create
on.
a video. That's a video. If ever there was a video,
Mm,
that's the one, right? Because if
mm,
you think about, and I forget the TV, the reality TV shows, right, that are out there about
mhm,
Fixer Upper or all the different stories out there, imagine the story that you can create about your business when you
mhm.
take somebody who needs help and you change their life, you transform their home. I mean, you're going to have moms crying and you should be capturing all of that, right? Even if
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
on your iPhone or your Android,
Mhm.
by capturing that and really creating that story, now people will tell the story about your business. And that's where you really tap into success.
Oh, right on, right on. This has been good. There's one question I have for you, and it relates to referrals and paid leads. I want to kind of set the stage here and just say that um, I uh, I have passionate feelings against paid lead sources. I genuinely believe that they are a racket. Essentially, what happens is unknowing um, entrepreneurs, painting contractors, business owners will sign up to buy some leads so that they can get some leads. When what they're effectively doing is funding their SEO engine, pushing their URL down the SERPs, making it harder for them to list. And not only that, but there have been multiple reports of these lead uh, paying services providing fraudulent leads, charging, making it very difficult to cancel, if not near impossible. There are lawsuits. And so I've heard the stories and I've talked to many people off the ledge from paying leads. And it breaks my heart because I genuinely believe that these services are rackets. In the old, the way that we know how mobs ran rackets, right? You pay them for protection so that they didn't hurt you. So, um, and fortunately, we've had the opportunity to help many of them. But I would like to know your insight on how you find new clients without paying these rackets.
Yeah, great question. So I totally align with you. HOA.com is a membership site. We set out to create the number one referral network for professionals who serve homeowners. And so people come on the HOA.com and they pay an annual membership fee. It's $357 for the year. So it's less than $1 a day, far less than a BNI, usually less than a Chamber of Commerce. And we say we're creating Nextdoor meets Angie's List meets Zillow. Now, if you look at that middle component, it's kind of what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
In our experience, what happens on some of those platforms, and I have to be cautious and not make statements about competitor companies. However, the stories that we hear from a lot of contractors is that they get this lead flow, but now the homeowners on the other side are getting barraged by people, right? Because typically they'll sell that lead to three or more individual companies that are now competing for that business. So I'm not a huge fan of that model. It's never worked out for me. Back in my I was in the mortgage business. That's how I got into the referral game. And when I purchased leads, I never converted at a high enough rate where it made any sense. So
Mm,
I teach that lead is a 4-letter word. And what I mean by that is it's kind of like an expletive. I don't want a lead. I want a referral. When somebody's
amen.
referred to you, they're 400% more likely to hire you because the trust factor is so much higher. You're not competing from anybody. The referrals will, on average, be 16% more profitable for you because those clients are willing to pay more, right, to get a quality
Hmm,
job.
hmm.
They'll refer you more often. They're more loyal. So it's all about referrals from my perspective. Steve, did I answer that question or is there anything
You
else?
nailed it. I love that. All right. So a takeaway for me just from that right there, leads are four-letter word because
Yeah,
okay, referrals convert, was it 400%
it is. Right.
more, and they're
Yep.
16% more profitable.
That's right. Yeah,
Yes.
and
Yeah. Mhm.
90% of people say that they trust recommendations from people that they know. So 9 out of 10 people kind of work naturally by referral. 1 out of 10 is a skeptic, right? He's
Yeah.
a cynic. He's not going to believe anything anybody tells him, and that's okay. That's just that guy, right?
Yeah.
But
Right. Right.
9 out of 10 of us, when somebody says, "Oh, you got to check out this movie. It was amazing. You got to go to this restaurant. It's fantastic." Right? We listen to that. We trust that
Mhm.
recommendation, and that's why referred business is so much more profitable.
Amen. That's spot on. I love that. Could you tell us a little bit more about HOA.com, the referral network, and so how does it operate? It's not BNI where BNI you go and you meet, but here's just what a website, just a listing. Could you unpack that a little bit for us, please?
Yeah, so we're actually on a mission to revolutionize the entire homeowner association industry.
Okay, so I just
Yeah.
it's interesting. I didn't funny aside. I've lived in Florida for 20 years, and I've got a couple boys. They're young men. I don't call them teenagers because we're raising young men, not teenagers, but they're in the teen years. And I wanted them to be fully boys, and so we got out of the HOAs because we were tired of the letters. It wasn't fair to them. So we're in Tennessee now. We got 29 wooded acres. So just quick aside on HOAs, but painted in a ton of them. Love them. It's good. Great cash flow. Great place to work. But not raise boys. But great place to work. And so more
They're great
referrals.
communities, and that's the
Hmm.
key. And when you
They are.
look at America, there's 370,000 HOAs, and 53% of all homeowners live in an HOA. Yet
Mm.
I introduce myself as the CEO of HOA.com all the time, and I hear all the horror stories. People talk about the fees and the fines. We envision, and we're working on creating a future of HOAs where there's no fees and no fines. What would that be like? Where we've got a champion within that community where if you don't bring in your garbage can at the end of the day, instead of
Yeah.
sending you a fee notice, we just go put your garbage can away. Crazy,
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
concept, right? Anyway, so
Yeah.
this is big picture, big vision. That's where
Yeah.
we're going over the next 5 years. We believe that we'll be able to transform the industry and people will love their HOA. Now, how do we
Mm.
do that? How do we get there? At the core, our business model is a referral network. We're creating community pages for every neighborhood in America. Think next door. On that community page, we integrate all the information about that community, but also the top trusted professionals in that community. So we're going to select one preferred painter for each individual neighborhood or community. It's part of your membership, $357 a year, includes one community where you're the preferred painter, for example, or
Mm-hmm.
realtor,
Mm-hmm.
mortgage, or what have you.
Right.
We then help create that trusted team that automatically co-markets. I said Nextdoor meets Angie's List meets Zillow. Well, the
Mm-hmm.
Zillow component is what we call our home safe report. This is an automated email that goes out from those that want to send it in our system, but it's set it and forget it. So basically, when you come onto HOA.com, you're going to claim a community. That's my neighborhood that I'm going to work, hyper local social farming. And if you want more than that, more than one, that's available too. But then you're retargeting, remarketing to those homeowners and really being part of the community. So you
Mm.
claim your community, set up your profile. You're going to invite your trusted team. These are the people that your referral partners, right? The people you want to work with. And then you send out the home safe report. When you do that every single month, the Home Safe Report sends out a valuation update to the homeowners in your database, and it lets them know that the house has gone up or down in value, but it also has that trusted team. So we're
Mm.
remarketing your business and your referral partners every single month to those homeowners. And what's beautiful about that, most painters, after they get done painting a home, the homeowners never hear from them again. We call it going into ghost mode,
Yeah.
right? I'm
Yeah.
sure this is part of what you teach in your
Yeah.
coaching
Step
program,
nine
right?
is staying top of mind to your customer list. Yes, sir.
So we
Mm-hmm.
automate the process. You set up the home safe report every single month. Homeowners are getting an email from you with your photo, your brand, your phone number, and then your referral partners. It also has information on comparable sales, current
Mm.
listing, and events that are happening right there in their local community. So it adds a lot of value, but it's totally automated. Set it and forget it. So the keys with HOA.com is we create that community page and we connect the community together, right? And we do that through live events. We get mostly the realtors, quite frankly, to host different live events. We create the blueprint for them, whether it's an ice cream social, community barbecue. Sometimes we'll bring a bounce house to a community or do a treasure hunt. All these family forward fun events that bring the community together so that they can connect and celebrate. And I'll give you an example. I was just recently at one of our barbecues that happened here in the Phoenix market where I live. And there were about 50 people there. The realtor and the mortgage lender had gotten together and they said, we're going to do this community barbecue in our neighborhood. And they hired a 13-year-old to go door knocking. They gave him a little sign with a QR code, and then they went around and said, "Hey, we're having a community barbecue, and we'd love you to join us. It's going to be on this day at this time in the green space." Right.
Mm-hmm.
So about 50 people showed up. They all brought their own meat to put on the grill. So the mortgage lender and the realtor paid about $50 total for some drinks and some chips, and that was about
Yeah.
it. And what was so cool is I was looking around at one point, and the kids are playing basketball, the dads are playing cornhole, and there was even a kickball game going on. But the coolest part, Steve, is as I looked around, not one person was on their cell phone.
Wow.
Everybody was just hanging out, having fun, and getting
Yeah.
to know their neighbors. So those are the types of events that we integrate into
Mm.
these, what we call a connected community. So it starts with a community profile. We do community events. We send out the home safe report. And the
Mm-hmm.
other way that we serve is our concierge service. So literally, we have a service if somebody is moving. We'll take care of everything. We'll change their address, set up new utilities, get them quotes on, we'll set up their water, their power, cable, security, get them quotes on homeowners insurance, solar, anything that they need, painting. And
Mm-hmm.
then after they've moved in, if they need help, we're there as their community concierge to help them with anything they want. And so we refer back our pros, our members,
Yeah.
and we keep all that business together. So a client for one is a client for all.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's pretty amazing. What an incredible vision. And what you're putting together here. Thank you, Brandon. Is there a question I should have asked, or any final points you would like to make?
Yeah, no, I think sometimes what occurs to me is sometimes people will say, well, what's the most important thing? You kind of did that on the front end. I'd say, really the key is to have success in your company, get clear on what it is that you want to accomplish and achieve. Right. If you're just floating through your days and you don't have a goal, Steve, I know you teach goal setting, right? Having that goal and getting crystal clear on what you want to achieve is a huge part of success. I have my goals written out for the next 50 years,
So, for
right?
those listening through the audio, he's holding up forms with rows. I'm guessing 40, 50 rows, and he's going through five, six, seven sheets. My
Yeah,
goodness.
and this is a couple hundred. This is it, I just
Okay.
looked at the
Yeah.
number, 212 goals on there. And there are things that I want to accomplish, places I want to go, people I want to meet, and experiences I want to have. So get crystal clear on the life that you want to live. Live life by design, not by default. And then also be bold, be courageous. We have a different organization we run called the Christian Business Alliance, where we bring Christians together that
Right
do
on.
business together, and we have the core values of Christ, and the C is be courageous, right? So be courageous in sharing what it is that you love, that you're passionate about, and don't be afraid to ask. The biggest thing I learned from Mark Victor Hansen over 19 years of mentorship, I just talked to him 2 days ago, is ask for what you want. That's his book here is Ask, right? This
Ask.
is his
Yeah.
most recent book, The Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny. So ask for what it is that you want and you'll get it more often than not.
Joshua 1:9. Right. Be strong and courageous, for I'm with you wherever you go. Love that.
Amen. I love it. You
Yeah.
know your scripture better than I do. I just stay connected to source, but
There you
I love that you know
go.
that. That's awesome.
If somebody wanted more information, where should they go?
Yeah, so check out HOA.com. At the top right, you can click on the Become a Pro button. There is an application process. We do background checks to make sure that the people in our network are the type of people that we want to promote to our clients. But as long as you've been in business for a couple of years and you're a highly rated company, we have to rely on ratings and reviews beyond the background check. But that's the easiest way to get involved with HOA.com. And if you want to check out what I'm up to, you can go to brandonbarnum.com. There you can book me if you have your own podcast and you're like, hey, I like this guy. I want to bring him to my audience. You can do that there. And then you can also do the bank code quiz. So if you go to brandonbarnum.com, you'll see a link to know your code. You can click that. And you can also take the referral score quiz. There are 10 referral best practices and at brandonbarnum.com, or you can go to referralscorequiz.com and you can take it. It'll take you less than 2 minutes. And you might be surprised by some of the best practices and how you score on them. So check it out, take the quiz. That'll help you see the blind spots in your business. And through that, you can take your scores from a 5 to a 10.
Right on. Fantastic. Thank you again, Brandon. What a pleasure.
Oh, my pleasure, Steve. Thanks for having me. I hope this is informative. And most of all, I hope people take action, right?
Yeah, indeed.
Wisdom, knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. Put it into action, put it into your practice, and that's when you'll achieve success.
Right on. Fantastic. Thanks again.